Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, that time I accidentally worked for the Russian Mafia and proxy blew up a dumpster with bread dough. Post office said I couldn't file a complaint about the mailman not trying to deliver my packages because I had no proof, so I got proof. Bully me into selling you my car? You pissed off the wrong mama bear. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. That time I accidentally worked for the Russian Mafia and proxy blew up a dumpster with bread dough. I'm a professional baker and have worked for various companies developing recipes and the like. I found a job at a local grocery store, working super early mornings on their pastries for the day. There were usually a few other people there, one of whom was a mixer. Mixers typically follow a spec sheet with the weights of all the ingredients they need to batch mix. It's kind of mindless work and doesn't require much thought. He was a young guy, fresh out of his teens. We became fast co-worker friends, and enjoyed chatting it up about baking, and I'd help him put our supply order away. Good times. One day, a woman with a thick Russian accent came in and handed us business cards. She told us whatever we're getting paid, her company would double it if we came to work for them. I scheduled an interview, thinking this would be a great opportunity for me. It was a new grocery store concept, like a glitzy glammy European-style Costco, whatever that means. When I went in for the interview, the place was literally still under construction. I met their lead baker, and we hit it off right away. He warned me that the big boss had interesting tastes, and we'd need to work with that. No biggie. More money, let's go. They hired us both, and, over the next several months, it was a really interesting and fun experience. The big boss, thick, burly Russian man, to the point and perpetually angry, wanted this place to be like Costco mass production of quality pastries. They were bringing in crazy amounts of new equipment, including folders, shapers, and injectors that were easily worth millions. We didn't have much equipment to start, and we were doing a lot of mixing in trash cans. Remember my mixer buddy? Well, he was working on the bread dough, using spec sheets provided by our lead baker. Over time they were bringing on more staff, and it was a lot of fun developing new recipes, experimenting with ratios, and figuring out how to get over constraints for the types of products that boss wanted. Did I mention he was an A****? Oh yeah. When he was reviewing some cheesecake I had made, he said, "Good job, sweetie." I came back with "Miss, ma'am," or "My name is fine." He scowled at me, and from that point on he treated me like garbage. We brought other women on staff. I watched him hit on them. Some of the others were cool with being sexually harassed, I guess. This place was paying top dollar and had to get in good with the big boss, right? So, the stage is set here. Boss quickly turned his business into a game of survivor. He'd fire people on the spot for whatever reason. One day, one of the people he sacked was our lead baker. It came as a surprise since he was developing all the recipes we'd be using. I inherited a lot of his notes, and his development work was divided between me and the mixer. So, this whole time mixer was kissing Big Boss pretty hard. He was seeing an open position with the lead baker gone, and quickly became invested in the idea of him running the bakery show and making some serious money. At the same time, my relationship with Big Boss was quickly declining. For an example, I had him sample some cinnamon rolls I had made, and he came back with, "I hate these, they're terrible." What do you not like? We can change anything about them. The dough? The filling? The icing? I don't know, I just don't like them. On a hunch, I gave some cinnamon rolls from the same batch to another lady there he had eyes for, and asked her if she'd present them to him as her own. She offered him the same product I had given him minutes before, and he loved it. Anyway, I noticed that my notes were out of place one day, and a co-worker informed me my mixer buddy was stealing my work and presenting it as his own. He was also approaching me and asking a lot of baking questions, which was fine, but I knew that his knowledge of industrial ratio baking was mediocre at best. He was a mixer. Following a recipe is all he knew how to do. Knowing this, I made a decoy copy of my notes, but this time I put really, really awful recipes, with huge amounts of salt or yeast. Anyone who knew how to build a recipe could probably look at it and go, whoa, that's a lot. Not Mixer Buddy. My original plan was to leave this in an obvious spot as bait, and let him steal the awful recipes, but Big Boss had other plans. We sat down for a pre-launch meeting, and he informed me I wasn't going to be working in the bakery anymore, and being relegated to store setup. Mixer was going to be taking over as the lead baker, and I was to give him all my notes so far. No problem, boss. A day later was when the fun really began. Mixer mixed up a huge batch of super-ass salty cake batter, and I heard Big Boss screaming at him about way too much salt. That's not even where the fun begins. As we were setting up an industrial quantity baking equipment, we had to test the larger quantity mixing machines, and did a test run for some bread dough, with my decoy recipe that had triple the yeast and sugar. As it didn't come out right, Mixer had to throw it away. His choice? The dumpster out back in the dead heat of summer. Hundreds of pounds of dough. The fun thing about massive amounts of bread dough is that it doesn't magically stop rising if you throw it away, especially in a hot dumpster. A few hours later, I spied out back to see Mixer Buddy shoveling this massive blob of dough into trash bags that had exploded from the dumpster like an uncovered blender spewing out a yeast-laden smoothie. Here's a photo of what it looked like. It's not the original dumpster, but it should give you an idea of how awful it is. Sweet revenge. Now, about the MAFIA thing, this store was really strange. They had been ordering doubles of all the crazy industrial baking equipment and storing them in back. We had nowhere to put any of this. I also looked up the company they were subcontracted under, and it was to a dead address in Russia. Big Boss also had armed security guards everywhere. This was a grocery store, mind you. I had a feeling that this company was more of a front for laundering a bunch of money. I eventually was fired by Big Boss, which was great because I had been job hunting, full well knowing this business was a sinking ship. I had a new job lined up already. They had their grand opening, did business for 3 months, then closed. R.I.P. Mixer. Post office said I couldn't file a complaint about the mailman not trying to deliver my packages because I had no proof, so I got proof. For context, in my country, if your package gets sent through the National Post Service, you're basically screwed. It takes 200 years and they never actually deliver it. I don't know how it is in other countries, but here they are supposed to ring the doorbell if the package doesn't fit the mailbox, and if you don't answer they leave a notice, and you have to go and pick it up all the way at the post office. The problem is that my mailman doesn't even try to deliver them, he just leaves the notice without even ringing the doorbell and leaves. I've had to pick up nearly every package I've ordered because of that. Well, the last time was my last straw. I was obviously home because of the pandemic. Suddenly I received a call that immediately hung up. It was so fast that my phone didn't even ring, just showed up as a missed call. No doorbell, nothing. I suspected it was the mailman and ran to the door only to find him inside the truck, looking straight at me before driving off. Well, I was pissed and called the post office to file a complaint. I explained the situation and the lady told me that I couldn't file a complaint because they are only instructed to ring the doorbell and calling is optional, and I couldn't prove that he didn't ring it. At first I just avoided using them again at all costs, but the other day I ordered something and chose a delivery company from the ones listed on the website. Apparently that company hires the National Post Service to deliver for them here. When I found out, I basically stalked the tracking info for days. It was about 2 weeks late LOL, until one day late at night it said it had arrived my country, which usually means that the next day it's going to be delivered. The next day, I woke up at 7 a.m. to check. My suspicions were correct, it set out for delivery. I quickly grabbed something to eat, got in my car and parked right outside my house. Then I waited, and waited, and waited, 6 hours in total, until I finally see the post truck pulling over. I grabbed my phone to record and watched as the mailman opened the door already either the notice in hand, slid it inside my mailbox and turned around. I got out of the car and said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" He didn't even look at me and said, "Just delivering packages, miss." Then I stood there as that a holy grabbed his phone to call me and quickly hung up. I smiled as I took my phone out of my pocket and sarcastically stated, "Oh bummer, you didn't even give time to reach for the phone." He literally turned white. LOL, couldn't even speak. I continued, "Now can you give me my package please?" He quickly opened the truck, almost tripped and took out my package. "See, wasn't that easier than your whole scheme?" He finally manages to say, "Sorry miss." I turned around and left. He probably thought he got lucky. I didn't say anything else, but little did he know that I sent the video to the post office via email attached to my complaint. Well, let's just say I have a new mailman. This one tries to leave 1 second after ringing the doorbell, but at least he rings. Bully me into selling you my car? You pissed off the wrong mama bear. So, about 8 years ago, I'm selling a used car. Engine light was on, the AC needed recharging, and the fuel pump or something was out. So I go to my local, trusted, sales site. Ad goes up with a few pictures and the words, "I work weird hours so I may not be able to accept a phone call. Please only text me." Yay to working swings and midnights, right? 'Twas actually college classes, but same thing for me. So a few days in, I get a pretty standard text, "Hi, I'm Matt. Is your car still for sale?" Matt isn't his real name, but you get the idea. So text back that it is. A few standard texts about price, "Why is the engine light on? Who did you get the quote from?" I listed an approximate price on the repairs as quoted from my trusted mechanic, and whatnot. Go back and forth. The next day I get a text from him saying, "Are you gonna take all your sh*t out of the car before you sell it to me, or is that my job?" Unwarranted hostility? Really? WTF man. He's not the only interested party, so I text him back, "I'm not selling the car to you, so don't worry about it." I never said I would sell it to him. He never asked if he was the only interested party and others were arranging test drives already. I didn't need him and his less than full price, partial commitment. And the sh*t he was complaining about is 3 textbooks and a bag I keep clothes in. 4 things. This guy didn't like to take no for an answer, and starts calling and texting about how my car's paint is peeling. True, but the pics and description said so, and how dare I ask so much, $1,000 for a piece of sh*t car. I started replying for a time, telling him he wasn't going to get the car, that I had other interested buyers, so he didn't need to worry about it, etc. Then things got personal. This site gave you the option to link to Facebook, so you could post it both places at the same time. So I had. I didn't have my privacy settings turned down as it was still early into Facebook's absolute reign, and I actually trusted them at the time. Silly me, I know. I hadn't anticipated that he would be able to find my info through the website's post, and find my name, my location, pictures of my kid, my mother-in-law's obit, etc. Surprise me, he did. He starts text me about how I should be ashamed of myself for saying no to him, a muscular dude, and me being a quite round female. He included a picture in one text, and he wasn't the muscular, built man he claimed to be. He looked like a beanpole with 2 muscles, so, WTF dude. He asked me if I even knew everything about cars, or if I made the post while on my period so I didn't know what I was talking about. He texted that I should be lucky, I was already married, or else he would come to my house and show me how a real man handles a little b*tch. He got close, but didn't have an address, and the way my address pulls up on GPS, he never would find my apartment, thankfully. Small side info. Since I was in college at the time and needed a more flexible schedule, I worked as a school crossing guard. Every 2 weeks or so, we'd go in to sign our time cards in order to get paid. This crossing guard gig was a hire though my local PD. Not all crossing guard gigs are the same, but this one was. During one of these visits into the office, I was using my phone, while I was waiting for my boss to get to me, my name being low in the alphabet. I hadn't yet blocked the dude as it hadn't been long since this started, and I was hoping it would fizzle on its own. I didn't check my phone in class, choosing to turn it off to avoid ADHDing on it the entire day, and I was often flooded with several hours of texts all at once. What I saw on my phone drove me over the cliff. He started texting about pictures I had posted on Facebook about my 8 or 7-year-old son. He had just majorly crossed the line. The cleanest version of his texts included things like "Your kid is just as ugly as you are. I hope you don't plan on him leaving home to get a wife anytime soon. And how a smudge of dirt on his face from a day at the zoo looked like I beat him. I didn't sell you a car and you're taking out your rage by threatening to *PE me and accusing me of beating my kid? *LLNO. Apparently, I was loud when I said what I did, because my boss stepped right over to me next and asked what was wrong. Great person. Would boss again. I told her that I was getting this abusive texts from a rando that tried to buy my car. I told her I was about to erase the texts and block him, but she's like, "No, wait, don't do that. Let me see your phone." So happy I didn't delete them because this next part still makes my heart sore. I offer and she takes my phone, reading all the sick and vile things he texted to me. She tells me to wait until she's cleared the lobby of the other crossing guards, so I do. She then tells me to follow her behind the security doors at the PD station, still having my phone. I don't know what's happening, but I liked and trusted her, so I do. I follow her back to her office where she works on her computer, referring my phone on occasion. She asks if all I have is the phone number, or if I got his name too. I tell her I only got a first name, and scroll to the text where he introduced himself. And semi-uncomfortable amount of time later, she hands back my phone. Something to mention, my boss isn't just administrative. I didn't know it at the time, but she's a full-on lieutenant in the local PD. She came up the ranks from patrol, moving to a position where she exclusively investigated child/elder/disabled abuse complaints before moving into her current desk position. Needless to say, she didn't take people threatening harm to kids lightly. Because I hadn't blocked the number, I still had the text messages with the dude's name, and she had used it to cross-search him and the phone number. Long story short, she knew exactly who he was. She says not to worry, but don't delete or respond to his texts anymore. She had it. If it got worse, I should call her or 911 as appropriate right away. Unconcerned and happy she had the situation in hand, I leave and go to class. When I'm back to the office to sign my next time card 2 weeks later, I had several unread texts from the guy. I had filtered them so I didn't see them pop up and hadn't read them. I had sold the car for full asking price and all but forgotten the entire situation. My boss tells me to wait for her again as she had something else for me to sign, and I again return to her office. She briefly explains what she had for me, what an actionable complaint that she needed me to sign for my issue 2 weeks ago. I remember everything all over again. She must see my face because she tells me not to worry, and that she can tell me what's going on more after I actually sign the form. So I do. Dear Reddit, this is the best situation anyone could have asked for. The phone number tied to many people as the provider was known for cheap cell service for those that were desperate for a way to contact people/services/employment. But with the name Matt, again, fake name, she was able to find out who was messing with me. She then got a driver's license, which led to an address, which led to a police report for possible domestic violence. Fall down the rabbit hole some more, and you find out that this dude had 5 kids by 4 women, and he was in arrears on his child support to them all. Hadn't been paying for 10 plus years, and it was in the neighborhood of 30-50K, if memory serves. But he somehow, just 2 weeks ago, requested a title transfer for a new to him, quite fancy old car. I don't remember the kind, but think high-end car show and massive insurance premiums. Being so far in arrears meant that my boss was able to place a seizure order on the car, so it could be sold to pay back the child support. One of the baby mamas live in a state where fleeing child support meant you could have a warrant issued for your arrest. When she called the interested parties in that state to see if they wanted her to execute the arrest warrant, they said yes, with much haste. That was a funny turn of phrase, so I always remembered it. One conversation later, and my boss was able to determine that he was using the brother's social security number on his employment forms to avoid child support garnishments. This is all sorts of illegal, so she notified the guy's HR department so it could be corrected. They informed her he would be fired for fraudulently submitting false documents. She then told me that about 4 days ago, she had executed the warrant on the dude for felony child abandonment, and that the state he was to be held for was already en route to pick him up. It carried a 8 to 12-year sentence, and he still had to pay his back child support. I could have dealt with the comment, I could have dealt with the not taking no for an answer, even dealt with the cyber stalking, a little. But when your twisted mind okays you to bring my kid into the picture, you done crossed the line. If you would have stopped at no, you wouldn't be in jail right now.